You're listening to the Leadership Blend Podcast.
I'm ready.
On the Thinking Out Loud Network. Check out the Thinking Out Loud Network at thinkingoutloudnetwork.com.
All right, everybody, welcome to this week's edition of the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice, and I am flying for the first time in a long time, solo dolo. But it's all good because, one monkey don't stop a bunch of shows, and we just gonna keep it going. So today on the rundown, there are a lot of things that happened over the weekend. There were some disturbing things that happened over the weekend as it pertains to me. So I definitely want to get into that. Definitely want to get into what's going on in government because, we try to keep you informed of what's going on. Have some definite interesting articles to talk about as well. So I'm going to get right into it. Over the weekend, you guys know I have a lot of conversations with people that I know that are in my circle. And, you discover a lot of things. You get a lot of opinions and, people feel a lot of different ways. And I think one of the major things that came up, and I'm going to go straight into this because I was going to go someplace else, but I want to get into this first. For those that do not know, apparently Oprah's Empire has decided to do a documentary on Russell Simmons and the allegations against him for sexual assault and things of that magnitude. Russell Simmons made a public plea to Oprah, basically saying, please don't do this. I thought we were kind of cool. And I'm paraphrasing. Please don't do this. I thought we were cooler than that. This would kind of destroy my brand. You should know this is kind of not who I am. Things of that magnitude. I heard the story and I was kind of in awe. I was like, that can't be true because, we know for a fact that before Oprah had owned, even when she had owned, that her and Russell Simmons were really cool. She did some of her Soul Sundays that she would do on some of her shows. She brought him in a lot to talk about topics that were specific to males. His mentoring programs, things of that magnitude. So to discover that this was even on the agenda for her network, I must say is not only alarming, it's distasteful and it's a little disgusting, and it really has me concerned. Why does it have me concerned? Well, let's look at it. As an African American male, and this is not to say that females do not encounter the things on a significant level that we do, but let's be honest. African American males are fighting for our lives on a day-to-day basis. We're getting shot down in the streets. It's hard for us to find jobs. A lot of us have criminal records, things of that magnitude. And I'm not saying that a lot of that is not of our own making, but the point is we have enough battles to fight without having to fight with our sisters. Now, again, as a male who has 3 sisters and a host of extended sisters, I definitely understand from both sides. But this particular situation is an issue because now not only is Russell Simmons fighting to save his legacy, because the man has done great work, but he's also fighting his own sister, to keep his name intact. They didn't really give specifics, and we all know how Oprah controls her narrative, much like Jay-Z and Beyonce. So we're kind of waiting for a response. But the source that gave them was a source from the own network who actually said that, yes, this is in the working. And I'm assuming that they reached out to some of the quote-unquote victims of this particular thing. So just some facts about what's actually going on. Over a dozen women have come forward with allegations against Simmons, with one unidentified woman filing a $10 million lawsuit in March of 2018 accusing him of rape. The lawsuit is pending after Simmons tried and failed to get it dismissed in August. A California judge ruled that Simmons did not supply sufficient evidence to support his claim that the statute of limitations on the alleged rape had run out. Now, for those of you that do not know, statute of limitations in essence, and of course I'm going to paraphrase, statute of limitations kind of says that the time frame that you had to come forward has kind of expired. You see this a lot in civil law when it comes to making claims and allegations of certain types of acts. And the law will say, well, yeah, but unfortunately the time frame that you had to come forward about this particular complaint has run out, so there's nothing that we can particularly do for you. In this particular case, I'm assuming that that's what he attempted to do, to say that the statute of limitations had run out, because it's kind of a fail-safe, because once that statute of limitation runs out, there's nothing you can do in court. Now, granted, there are different types of courts. You have your criminal court system, you have your civil court system, which a lot of times you will see individuals go to criminal court for the actual trying of the case, and if they lose, then oftentimes they'll go after somebody personally, which is typically where they go to civil court to try to get money out of him. You saw that with the OJ case. They tried him, they didn't win, so they took him to civil court to try to sue him for his own personal belongings. You see that a lot. So apparently that's, where they're headed. So last week, Variety reported Winfrey's Apple Plus, and this is going to be on Apple Plus. So remember, there are a lot of new streaming outlets that are going on. So outside of Netflix and Hulu, you now have Disney Plus, you have Amazon Prime that has their own shows. Apple is throwing their hat into the ring, so they have Apple Plus. So that's where Oprah Winfrey's documentary is going to be on. And it will focus on the former music executive who grapples with whether to go public with her story of assault and abuse by a notable figure in the industry. Now, again, my fear is that this will become a thing. Because, we had the Surviving R. Kelly series, which happened, I think it was earlier this year, the end of last year that came out. I kind of thought it was gone, and then lo and behold, I'm strolling Netflix, and what do I see? Surviving R. Kelly on Netflix. So that means it's now immortalized on Netflix. Now, for those of you that know me, you know where I stand on the R. Kelly debacle. Yes, R. Kelly has done some things, some deplorable things, with particularly minors, which I would never condone, because I have a niece who is 15, Tamari, and if the thought of somebody doing the things that he did to her would make me want to grab a gun and go out there and get lit. But the point is, this cannot be a growing trend where now we have to not only look forward to see who's coming at us, we got to look behind us from our own communities to see who's coming behind us as well. Somebody brought up today when they were talking about the R. Kelly documentary that Gayle King threw the final nail in the coffin with the interview that she did. I thought about it, I was like, you know what, in essence, she kind of did. Now, granted, I am not giving either one of these individuals a pass just because they're black males. I would never do that because we have a responsibility, especially those of us who are in media at a significant level, to be role models not only for men but for women. And when I say for women, meaning the way we treat our sisters, the way we treat our wives, the way we treat our grandmothers, all those things, we should always be conscious when we're in the public eye about those relationships that we have and the way we maintain those relationships. So I am not saying by any stretch of the imagination that either one of these figures, R. Kelly, neither Russell Simmons, are off the hook if they did these deplorable things. Now, in the R. Kelly case, we do know that a lot of this stuff has been proven. They have the, as they like to say, they have the receipts. So that carries its own weight. But reciprocally, what I am saying is we should not have to look in front of us, behind us, and on the sides of us from our own community, expecting bullets hailing from us from every which way. That is what I'm saying. We deal with enough on a day-to-day basis, and I'll take this outside of just African-American men. Men in general, we have a responsibility to our communities to be the pillars to make sure that our sisters, our wives, our grandmothers, our nieces are all being taken care of, regardless to whether they have someone significantly in their life that can do it. Anytime I'm dealing with my sisters, my actual sisters, my extended sisters, shouts out to Mia and Tracy and my whole host of extended sisters. I love my sisters. I am mindful, even when I encounter females in my internship program, I am mindful of when I discover they may have no family life. They may have no males in their lives that are looking out for them. I become that big brother or that father figure because I feel like that's a responsibility that I carry as being a male figure in their life. So by no stretch am I giving them passes to say, it doesn't matter, that, they did this or whatever case be. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is, yes, we should hold them responsible, but how long and how far we go becomes questionable to me. Do I think that Oprah should be doing a documentary on Russell Simmons? I cannot say that I do, because I'm sure there are other narratives that she could be controlling. And to go after somebody that's in your camp or in your circle when they have not been proven guilty is an issue for me. Let me get there. That's one of the issues. When they have not been proven guilty by a court of law, and they've only been proven guilty by association or been guilty in the court of public opinions, that's a problem for me. And Russell Simmons has not been proven guilty. I'm not even sure he's been to trial yet for any of these things. So to do a documentary on him, now I feel like you've gotten on a propaganda train, and that is an issue for me. So we're going to see where that goes. But yes, for those that did not know, that is what's been culminating. And also 50 Cent apparently chimed in and put in his 2 cents. Now, let me say this about 50 Cent. 50 Cent is cool. And, I know he does this thing. But in order for this to become a real issue and to hold weight, I don't think that 50 Cent can be the voice that gets to Oprah and makes her either rethink this or actually make a statement about why she's doing this. Now, we all know, and I had a conversation with my sister when I was coming to the station, and, she made the statement, one of my sisters, she made the statement, well, if you really look at it, what has Oprah really done for black people? Well, now, and I told my sister when she said that, I said, well, now, let us not let one significant, because to me this is significant, let us not let one significant incident negate all that she has done. Because now, if you look at statistics of her network, which is still fairly new in network years, let us not roll over and negate the fact that she has put a lot of African American actors to work. From her doing Ambition, which employs Robin Givens, Brian White, a host of other people, to doing a lot of Tyler Perry play, which also has put Tyler Perry, not currently, but in the past, Tyler Perry to work, his crew to work. So let us not negate the fact that Oprah, since she took over her network, has put a significant amount of African American actors to work, giving them paychecks. So we're not going to negate that because of one, I don't want to say oversight, but because of one move. Because she has made significant strides for African Americans. Now, do I also, because that segues to another conversation and these are all nuggets that I want everybody to think about, particularly in our community, because this is going to become a thing. I can see it. I can smell it. I want to be the first one to talk about it, but I know that this is going to become a thing because it should become a thing because this is a significant issue. But let us not negate the good work that individuals have done on behalf of their communities because of one slip or one particular move that we don't like. And that's something we should get out of in our community, because we will do that. We will throw people away because they make a move we don't like. And that's not fair, and that's not the nature of that's not how we want to build our communities for the next generation. It has to be a fair playing ground that says, okay, you may have made a move I don't like, but that does not negate the work that you've done in this community as it pertains to your people and our people. So let us keep that in mind when we think about Oprah Winfrey. She's made great strides for us. When Stacey Abrams was running, Oprah took time to come off of all the work that she does, which is a buku amount of work. I can't imagine what she does. I have a small media empire, and that alone takes every day, nonstop. So imagine what it feels like when she's doing her shows or when she's running her network or things of that magnitude. Let's keep that in mind. Let's not negate the good work that she's done. Because I kind of felt that way. I'm going to segue again when we were talking about Eddie Long. God bless his soul, before he passed, and they had the whole debacle with him and the young men, the scandal that went on. And I felt like people walked away and all the great work that Bishop Long had done for decades was negated because of a scandal. And in our community, we do that a lot. And I would plead with us to say that we have got to stop doing that because it's not conducive to build a strong community that empowers the individuals who are in power, that are representing those of us who do and do not have a voice. So I will definitely say that. And again, that's particularly with this Oprah debacle. Let us not cast her away or ostracize her because she's making a move that we may or may not agree with, because, there is a lot of weight that goes to celebrities who are trying to carry the mantle, in essence, to do what they have to do. So, really quickly to add on to that story, the Los Angeles Times reported that Winfrey's documentary, which will premiere at the Sundance Film Festival, features Drew Dixon, who alleges that Simmons raped her in 1995. According to Simmons, Winfrey's producer said the documentary focuses on 3 hand-chosen women. In 2017, the New York Times reported that Drew Dixon was working her dream job in 1995 as an executive at Def Jam Recordings, which Simmons co-founded. She said the mogul regularly harassed her and exposed his erect penis to her, and later that year raped her in his downtown Manhattan apartment. She quit Def Jam soon after, but was subsequently harassed by another boss, L.A. Reid. Strong allegations, very strong allegations. So yeah, there you have it. But again, you get into statute of limitations. She alleged this in 1995. Now let's do some math. Y'all know I'm not good at math on the spot, but we're going to do some math real quick. So 1995, you add 5 years there, that's 2000. So that's 5 already. Add 2000, we're going into 2020. So you're talking almost 25 years ago that this particular incident happened. Now, when we talk about the Me Too movement, and then of course we have to tie these together, because the underlying issue to this really is it an unfair target on African American males who are accused of these heinous crimes versus their white counterparts who are also equally being accused of their counterparts? So the question becomes, why isn't Oprah Winfrey doing a story on Harvey Weinstein? Why isn't Oprah Winfrey doing a story on Kevin Spacey? You know, double standard, to be sure. When you look at the facts, and of course I only go off the facts and what's laid before me. When you look at Bill Cosby, who was in jail, when you look at R. Kelly, who was in jail, when you look at Russell Simmons, who hasn't even been tried, who's in the court of public opinion is being tried by Winfrey, in essence, is pretty much being found guilty. When you look at Harvey Weinstein, not so much. He's walking free. When you look at Kevin Spacey, he's walking free. All of these men have been accused of pretty much the same crimes. The variables may be different, but the accusations are pretty much the same. So the question, a viable question, is valid, saying, why are we not doing documentaries on these individuals? And actually, particularly Harvey Weinstein carries a lot more weight than some of the people we're looking at and who have been tried, because R. Kelly is really music. Harvey Weinstein has affected everything from major media to small time media. So why aren't we doing documentaries on people who've been accused of these same crimes with different variables? You know, the statute of limitations, the statute, the time frames almost look the same. The accusations almost look the same. So it is a good posable question. Why are we not doing documentaries on their counterparts who happen to not be African American? Just a thought. I'm just basing off facts. Again, everybody knows how I feel about a lot of these individuals, particularly Bill Cosby. Is a soft spot for me. You know, Bill Cosby, in essence, raised a lot of us. I have a very good father, but raised a lot of African American males who did not have fathers. He was the father we wished we had. He was the father we didn't have. And for him to be in jail at 80 years old over accusations that are equally 25 and 30 years old it draws a very big question mark for me of not only how did that happen, but how did it happen so fast? All questions. Just want to throw them out there. Again, that is the underlying question of this particular debacle is, why are we not doing documentaries on their counterparts who happen to not be African American? And yet, you know, are we at a place, and I'll say in our community, African American community, where African American males are going to have to actually, you know, look to the right, the left, the front and back, you know, not knowing who's throwing darts at them and, you know, who's actually putting them on Front Street. Sad place to be. Hopefully this will not come to pass, but knowing their own network and the work that they do and how diligent they are, I think Russell Simmons might be out of luck. I think this is probably going to happen. I'm almost 100% sure that it is going to happen. Do I believe in it? I do not. I think that when you have a friend and you have someone in your circle, you should be able to pick up the phone, call them and say, hey, I am considering, or, you know, because we know that I'm sure that Oprah is not in control of every facet of a network. So, but when she got, you know, the pitch, that should have been a phone call. And I'm not going to say it didn't happen, but he didn't say it happened. So we're going to, you know, fill in some blanks. There should have been a conversation that was had, that she picked up the phone, because you're a friend. I've had you on my network. You've done my Soul Sundays. We've done projects together. I should have been able to pick up the phone and have the conversation, call you personally, because I'm sure I have your number, and knowing that you would pick up and say, hey, friend, my network is considering doing a documentary on these alleged allegations of sexual abuse against you. I don't know how you're going to feel about it. I don't even know if I can stop it at this point, because it could be one of my division heads, but I want to give you the heads up. Now, as a friend, I'm willing, if culpable, I'm willing to do a special segment, a special sit down with you to help you control this narrative. That's the conversation that probably should have been had, versus him finding out in the tabloids that your company is doing a documentary about him and alleged allegations of sexual abuse that are almost 25 years old that you have not even been tried on. That's the conversation that probably should have been had. And oftentimes we are guilty of not doing that. And I'll say we'll scale that down, because this is a lesson for everybody that's in business, whether it be media, education, whatever the case may be. If you know that your brother and sister is getting ready to encounter a storm from which they may not recover from, as a friend, not to say associate, because there's a difference. An associate is somebody you see in passing that you say hey and bye to. Your obligation level to them is not very high. A friend is somebody, when I pick up the phone to call you or say that I need or I'm in need of, you not only answer that call, but you say, hey friend, if it's within my power, I definitely am going to get it done, because we have a bond, a fiduciary level of trust that I do not want to break. So I am willing to do all that is in my power to take care of this storm that you're getting ready to encounter. And oftentimes, and I'm not going to say just in our communities, in general, oftentimes we are guilty of not picking up the phone and calling our friends and saying there is a storm on the horizon from which you or your brand may not recover from. But I am willing to utilize my platform to help you weather this storm, because I helped you build, you helped me build. We both got here together. Like they say, we started from the bottom, now we're here. Now we're here, and I don't want to see you go down in flames for something you may or may not be guilty of. And again, oftentimes we are guilty of not picking up the phone. And even if it's not picking up the phone, sending a text message and saying, hey, friend, this is what's happening. I want to make sure that we get through this together in business or whatever the case may be. And let this be a lesson, and again, I say particularly to our community, because this is a issue in our community at the present moment. Let this be a lesson to those of us that are in business, that have business associates, that have business partners, that have friends. Sometimes it's not okay to let a friend get carried away by the tide. And that tide is, business, professional connections, whatever the case may be. Sometimes it's not okay to let them be carried away by the tide, especially if you can intervene and they are true friends to you, like these particular individuals, Oprah Winfrey and Russell Simmons. Hopefully they can come to some kind of conclusion. Like I said, I think the ship has already sailed. I think that this is going to happen. I think it's probably already in production, and it will be on Apple TV probably within the coming year, if I had to take a guess. So again, the lesson at the core of this is it's okay to pick up the phone. It's okay to cover your brother or your sister. And that goes outside of our community. Whoever you're connected to, it's okay to pick up the phone and call them. Because what I discovered is when you pick up the phone and call an individual, I called an individual this weekend for their birthday. And people that know me know I don't like talking on the phone. This is not something I do. I'll text, and I may send you an email. I don't like that either. Primarily texting is probably what I do best. But one of my good friends, when I call her a mentor, her birthday was this weekend. Shouts out to Dr. Weed. And something said, don't text, pick up the phone and call. And I called her in the midst of when I had some downtime. And I was like, hey, I just want to say, hey, I just want to say happy birthday to you. And she was like, that means a lot to me. She's like, because I know you like to text, but that means a lot to me that you actually picked up the phone and called me and say happy birthday. Sometimes it's the very little things that make the difference in our relationships. Which I want to segue to while we're talking about relationships. That's something I do want to get into really quickly as it pertains to building interpersonal relationships. I discovered this weekend, like I said, I had a lot of conversation, which I typically tend to do. And this weekend, I was having a conversation with some friends in ministry. And we were talking about one of my mentors in ministry. And, we were talking about, it was a whole slew of them that had been in ministry for about 30, 40 years. But they never took the time to build interpersonal relationships outside of ministry. And now they're all older. They're not able to really communicate with each other. They don't have very big circles of friends because the mission was really the only thing that they focused on. And I want to address this with a lot of you guys, because I have a lot of people that follow me that are in ministry. And I definitely want to say, take the time to build interpersonal relationships. What does that mean? We get caught up a lot, and this goes into business as well. We get caught up a lot with what we do, and I can say myself. Now, I'm very good with balance, and those that know me know I am, because I love to kick back, and I love to have kicks and giggles, because I did the thing where I wasn't balanced properly. And my body put me down some years ago, because I thought because I was 20, I was immortal. And I just kept running. And finally my body was like, okay, since you're not going to stop, we're going to stop you. And I remember my grandma was still alive, and I was living with her. And I was getting ready to head to work, because at that time I worked for Tommy Hilfiger. And I was getting ready to head out. I had my bag and everything, and I was a manager, and I was getting ready to go. My body was like, nope, you're not going anywhere. And I ended up on the ground laying there. My grandma looked at me, and she said, I told you that if you didn't stop, your body was going to put you down. And I want to say the same thing to those of us that are in business, to those of us who are working to build empires and to build dreams and visions. You have to make sure that in the building process that you are mindful of those individuals who not only helped you build, but those individuals who are in your circle. Don't be so tunnel vision that you are not conscious of everybody around you that's also building with you. Because what happens oftentimes is we build these massive empires, or we get the vision and we work it and we make it happen. And then we get to that pivotal point where it's time to hire staff. And now you got to go through 200 resumes because you were not conscious of all the people that helped you build this empire who would have been trustworthy enough to be put in positions to cover your back while you operate and move this vision forward. We got to be mindful of that. I always think about Nehemiah and when he was building a wall and, people were like, come down and come hang out with us. And he was like, no. I got to stay on this wall because God has given me a vision. I got to get it done. That is true. But reciprocally, no man is an island. Meaning, at some point, you're going to have to pick up the phone and call somebody. And I'm not talking about, goes beyond personal. This is with business. You're going to have to pick up the phone and call somebody, whether it be to help you get a business loan, whether it be somebody that helps you with a connection that you don't have, whether it be somebody to get you an interview that you can't get access to. The best way to do that is to be mindful when we go out. Now, people, and I'm going to get into this because this ties into it. When it comes to networking, I see a lot of people go to networking events and you come back with 50,000 cards and you get all these numbers and you never follow up. What is the point of networking if you're not building your community? That is the purpose of networking. When you go to a networking event, the objective is not to get a bunch of cards to take pictures of and put them on social media. The objective is to go to a networking event. First of all, you need to go to a networking event with an objective. I'm going to this networking event because I'm trying to get to, and I'm just throwing this out there. I'm trying to get to, I was going to say Kasim Reed, but he's not mayor. He's not anymore. I'm trying to get to Mayor Bottoms. So I'm going to this particular networking event because this particular networking event is for government officials. And I know that that's her arena. So I've already done the research to find out who's going to this government networking event because I'm going specifically for that individual. Now, everybody else I meet around them is great. And you want to be open to meeting other individuals because you never know who you're going to meet. But when I go to this networking event, I know the mission is if I can't get to Mayor Bottoms, which you're probably not going to, I'm going to get to her chief of staff, or I'm going to get to somebody that's on a board that she put together. That's the objective. We should not be going to networking events blind just to go because it looks good or because I want the photo ops. That is not going to build your community. And the objective is to be able to build a community so that whenever you have a project or whenever you're trying to get something done, you can pick up the phone, call somebody specifically that knows what you're trying to get done and can step in to help you get it done. That is the purpose of networking. That's the purpose, people. We should not be going just to go. I have friends that do it all the time. They go to networking events just to go to networking events. They go to 50 of them in a year. You haven't enlarged your community at all. You still are not able to get projects done because you got their card, but you never followed up. And there's nothing worse than going to a networking event, exchanging information, and 2 years pass, and then you send me an email saying, hey, we met at a networking event in 2017. Sir or madam, it is 2019. Do you know how many other events I have been to in 2 years? Follow up. Have the objective, follow up, know what you're going for, because the objective is always to enlarge your community, and the only way you're going to be able to do that is to make interpersonal relationships to help you get it done. I'm not telling you to be selfish and just have one-sided relationships. What I'm saying to you is it is worth it, because I've heard people say, well, I don't need friends, I'm on a mission. You do need friends, and you need associates, because no man is an island. And if you're ever going to get anything done in business, particularly in Atlanta, to all my ATL aliens, if you're trying to get anything done in Atlanta, I can assure you with 95%, no, I'm going to take that up. With 98% certainty, you are going to need somebody to get it done. That's just the reality, especially if you're in media. So it will behoove you to never say that statement again, that I don't need anybody, I can get it done on myself. Never make that statement again, because I can assure you, especially in matters of business, you are going to need those connections to get you to your next level. So for all of you that are doing your vision boards, because I know many of you are doing it now because it's December the 16th. For all of you that are doing your vision boards and trying to get things done and putting this on it, add some friends to your vision board, because a lot of you do not have any. And it's not going to serve you well going into 2020. That was free. I just want to throw that out there. It's not going to serve you well to go into 2020 without fruitful associations and strong fiduciary levels of friendship. When I say fiduciary, that means high level. High level of friendship that you can trust this individual, that you can have a sit down with this individual and know that any secret you give them, they're going to keep. Because a lot of leaders, and we're seeing a lot of leaders having heart attacks, we're seeing a lot of leaders dying because a lot of them do not have fiduciary levels of friendship with individuals that they can sit down with, have a conversation with, and trust that anything they say to them as it pertains to their organizations or their empires is not going any further than between those two. So I'm telling you, as somebody who's building their empire, we need friends, we need associates. So when you're building your vision boards, if you do not have at least 3 good individuals in your circle that you can trust with your secrets, that you can pick up the phone and call them and they answer, you have a problem. And that has to be something that you add to your vision board. Because if not, I can assure you, I say it again, no man is an island. And what you're going to find is you're going to eventually hit a wall with building your vision. And there's nothing worse than building, and getting to a place that you cannot get to on your own and not having anybody to call, to step in, to say, you can't do this, but I can. Because I can assure you, everybody that's in your circle is not out for themselves. There are still good people in the world who want to have your back, who are looking for good people to add to their circle and reciprocally to your circle. Just want to throw that out there because, at the core of the story that we were talking about with Russell Simmons and Oprah, that was the underlying issue. The fact that Oprah did not pick up the phone. And like I said, if she did, he didn't say it. The fact that she didn't pick up the phone and give her friend the heads up to say, hey, my company or my network is getting ready to do this. I did not, and we don't know whether she had a hand in it or not. I did or did not have a hand in it, but I want to warn you because it's going to be a blow to the work that you've done over all these years. That was free. Just want to throw that out there for you because, it's a thing. Pick up the phone, people. Call your friends. Let them know. Hey, I got your back. This is what it is. All right, so I want to move on because I don't want to be on a tangent. That had me going all day because I feel some kind of way about people in their communities and their circle of friends and their circle of influence. We use a lot of terms that we don't understand. People say that all the time. You should have a big sphere of a circle of influence. What does that mean? That means you should have influential people in your circle. That does not mean that you have to have billion-dollar billionaires in your circle if that's not where you are. Because it's going to be kind of hard to have a conversation with Bill Gates when, you still don't know how to balance your checkbook. Whole different ballgame. But it's okay to have other individuals, like using that same example, it's okay to have somebody that works at a bank in your sphere of influence because they will help you learn how to balance your checkbook. Sometimes nobody explains what that terminology means. It means you to have somebody probably a step or two higher than you that can fill the gaps on the things you don't know how to do, but you're going to need to know how to do to get you to your next level. That's what that term means. It doesn't mean go out and try to find billionaires to put in your circle. Y'all are not going to speak the same language. Y'all don't even be on the same page, truth be told. So I just want to throw that out there. All right, so another interesting story that came up because I was at a restaurant and I overheard the conversation in the back about University of Phoenix agreeing to pay $50 million in cash and cancel $141 million in student debt to settle allegations. Now, before everybody starts dancing and wanting to do a rain dance and get excited and go to the bank, there is an absolute story behind this, which I want to get into because they're not canceling everybody's debt. Because that was the assumption I heard from the servers and stuff in the back. Like, oh my God, girl, I went to University of Phoenix and they're canceling my debt. No. There is a time frame that you had to have attended University of Phoenix in order to qualify for this debt to be canceled. So let's get into what's actually going on. So the University of Phoenix and its parent company have agreed to pay $50 million in cash and cancel $141 million in student debt to settle allegations of deceptive advertisement brought by the Federal Trade Commission, which, if you do the acronym, the FTC, which we hear a lot about. The deal, announced on Tuesday, settles a dispute over an ad campaign the for-profit college launched in 2012 including partnerships with companies including Microsoft, Twitter, and Adobe. It suggested that the school was working with these companies to create job opportunities for students, even though there was no such agreements, investigators found. Now, in a nutshell, what does that mean? Okay, I've talked about this before as it pertains to for-profit and we'll say state-funded schools. What is the difference? A state-funded school is a school that is, in essence, funded from some aspect by government, meaning you qualify to utilize FAFSA. For those of you that are in school, you know that FAFSA is a form you fill out that tells you how eligible you are for government funding to allow you funding to go to school. This is where you get into Pell Grants. Depending on your school, that may encompass lottery-based loans. Sometimes that's included. But particularly it's the Pell Grant, which is a grant that you typically do not have to pay back, that funds a good portion of you going to college. When you go to a for-profit school, the name implies exactly what it is. It is a for-profit school, meaning that every individual that attends that school is pretty much a walking dollar bill. And they operate as such. They make moves as such. Most of the time, you do not qualify for FAFSA. You do not qualify for government funding because it's typically they're typically private institutions or they're run as such. So oftentimes, those students are typically taking out double the amount of loans that people who go to state-funded schools are having to take out. So you're talking about a program may cost an individual that goes to a for-profit school up towards $80,000. Whereas a state-funded school, that same program may cost them $40,000 to $50,000, and once you factor in their Pell Grant, it may be less than that. So when you're looking at programs, you definitely want to keep that in mind. Do I want to attend a for-profit school, or do I want to attend a state-funded school? Now again, that's not to say that for-profit schools don't get any government funded. It is minimal to none. So you're going to take out double the amount of student loans to attend a for-profit school. Now, where do we typically see this at? You typically see a lot of for-profit schools when you get into majors like media, particularly in Atlanta. AIU is a for-profit school, but they have a very good media program. You're going to pay for it. It is expensive, but they have a very good media program. It's my alumni. I did not go there. Let me make this distinction. I did not go there for undergrad. I went there for my master's. But I work with them because I am an alumni, and they do a lot of work with my television show. So I've seen what their students can do. They teach them very well. AI, Art Institute, is also a for-profit school. They have a very good culinary program. I think it's one of the best in the country. I want to say, don't quote me on that, but I think it's one of the best in the country. There are other for-profit schools. Now, why you're seeing a war with for-profit schools from government aspect is because of this same lawsuit. A lot of them do have deceptive practices. In this particular situation with University of Phoenix, there was a commercial that they aired where apparently they showed students pulling into the parking lot, and then I think they said that the parking lot spaces disappeared and they were replaced with symbols of Microsoft, Twitter, Adobe, in essence saying, hey, if you come here, we've already built these relationships so that when you graduate, we can get you a job with Microsoft, Adobe, Twitter, things of that magnitude. That's where the deception come in, because they had never built these relationships. There were no contracts in place. They did not have conversation with these individuals. They ran a commercial. They reached out to these individuals, these particular companies, under false pretense. These companies were not aware that that's what they were going to run the commercial and say or even imply. So they had no working knowledge of this when this commercial aired. But this commercial aired all over the place. Now remember, in the old days, and I'm sure those of you that are a little older like myself, we remember those Everett commercials, those Everest commercials that they used to run all the time. You'd be watching Good Times, and you see an Everest commercial with some girl walking on a bridge saying, oh my God, I signed up for Everest, and now I'm working at, I was in the phlebotomy program, and now Everest has got me a great job doing phlebotomy at the hospital, and they were doing things of that magnitude, only to discover years later that those commercials were deceptive practices because they were not doing that. Now, let me tell you what's happening. What is happening is when you do your FAFSA, you can go, there's the government website, and any government website is going to end in .gov. So if you're ever trying to find, and this is free, I'm throwing it out there. If you're ever trying to find a government website, because you can trust those websites, they end in .gov. Now, if you see one that ends in .gov, that ends in .org, those are typically trustworthy sites that have been tried and true, and they're run by organizations that are on the up and up. So when it came to for-profit institutions, and I'll continue with the example of Everest, what they were discovering is when you go to do your FAFSA, you can go to government websites and you will see there's a rate that you can see. There's a graduation rate. There is an employment rate that you will see. So what these for-profit institutions were doing is they would show that they have we'll say a 95% placement rate. And what in essence that says is, okay, the graduates that we have, once they're done graduating, we're placing them on jobs in their field. So when you see this graduation rate and you see a 95 percentile, you're going, oh my God. So if I go to Everest and I graduate, there's a 95% chance that I'm going to get placed in my field making top dollar, that I can repay this money. Mind you, they pay double the amount because it's a for-profit school, but I can get placed in my field and I can pay back this money that I've taken out to complete this program. Okay, well, I'm good with that because at least I know that when I get out, I'm going to be placed in my field. That is not what they were doing. What they were saying is, hey, we have a 95% placement rate, but they were not telling you where they were placing these individuals. So what was happening was, yeah, we're placing you, but Sally Mae has a phlebotomy degree or the phlebotomy certificate, and we placed her, but she's working at McDonald's. But technically she was placed because she has a job. So we're counting her because she does have a job. It's just not in her field. So what does that mean in the grand scheme of things? Using the example of Sally Mae, so Sally Mae has now completed a program that has cost her, we'll say, $75,000. Sally Mae did not land a job in her field of phlebotomy, meaning when you do phlebotomy, I think they do blood work. So, in essence, she's looking to work in a private practice, a echo lab, or she's looking to work in a hospital or something like that is going to pay her a good return for her certificate or her degree. Well, Sally Mae couldn't find a job in her field, so now she works at a call center making $17 an hour, which is probably the equivalent of about $30,000 a year, maybe $40,000 a year. Her loans alone were $75,000. Now she's in a position where it would be years before she's able to pay back that loan that she took out under the assumption that based off their placement rate, she was going to be placed in her field to pay back the money that she took out to cover her certificate program or her degree program. And that is not the case. So that is what we're seeing in this particular case with University of Phoenix. They use this commercial to say, hey, we built these partnerships with Microsoft. We built these partnerships with Twitter. We built this partnership with Adobe so that graduates from our program, yes, you're taking out a lot of upfront money, but we promise you on the back end that you're going to be making that level of money to pay back this student loan that you're going to have to take out for double the amount of money in no time. And the FTC has now stepped in and say, this is not true. This was a deceptive practice. You brought these individuals in under false pretense, under the assumption that they were going to make enough money to pay back the double amount of loans that they took out to complete your program. And in essence, that is deceptive practicing. And now you're going to pay because these students are now up to the wazoo in student loan debt because they were under false pretense, which in essence, giving them false information, which the outcome was I took out double the amount of loans to cover a program based off false practices from your institution of education. So there you have it, people. That is what in essence happened in a nutshell. Now, this commercial in essence ran in 2012. And again, it suggested that the school work with these companies to create job opportunities for their students. The FTC settled the settlement said the settlement is the largest the agency has ever obtained against a for-profit institution. Now, again, what we're seeing is, and I'm happy about it. Now, granted, I have attended 2 for-profit institutions, and I've attended 2 state-funded institutions of higher learning. The 2 that were state-funded was Technical College of Low Country. Shout out to my people at TCL in Beaufort, South Carolina. You guys are amazing. Dr. Janice T. Lau, Rodney Adams, Rhonda Cole. You guys are amazing. You're doing great work down there in TCL. If you live in South Carolina and you want to get a great degree get a great associate's degree or a certificate from a great school, TCL is definitely a place you want to look into. But I attended TCL and I also attended Coastal Carolina University. Shout out to the Chanticleers. I am a proud Chanticleer. And I also attended from my higher education, AIU, American Intercontinental University, for my MBA and I was working on my doctorate in organizational leadership at Argosy. Argosy has since closed down. AIU, I think, is doing pretty good. So I've attended it from both sides. What I will say is you definitely want to make sure that you do the research before you attend either school, for any school. I want to say that you want to do the research before you attend any school, but you definitely want to make sure before you attend a for-profit institution that they have a good graduation, their good placement rate for your program, and that they have a good graduation rate, and that their placement is a legitimate placement. That they're not just, people are not just falling into jobs just to say that they're working and they're counting those numbers. Make sure that they are doing proper placement, that you will not get stuck with a bunch of student loan debt that is going to saddle you, because you have to look at the bigger picture. And in the grand scheme of things, student loan debt is one of the biggest issues that particularly millennials and Generation Z is having to deal with. Even my generation, which is Generation X and Y, student loan debt is something we are still grappling with, because in our day, education was key. Especially those of us who are minorities. We were told to go to school to level the playing field, and a lot of us did that. And, it works out for some, it doesn't work out for others. So you definitely want to do the research. But I definitely want to go over that story because it is a very big story. Now, on the other side of it, let me get to the name of the group that, because a lot of these for-profit institutions, they're under a bigger umbrella. So the bigger umbrella for University of Phoenix is Apollo Education Group, and they own University of Phoenix. They are Arizona-based, and they have 55 campuses across the nation, and they teach billions of students to millions of students online. They are the nation's largest recipient of the GI Bill, which is typically military, GI Bill tuition benefits for military veterans. All right, so under the settlement, the University of Phoenix and Apollo will cancel all remaining debt for students who first enrolled between October 1st, 2012 and the end of 2016. I will say that again for the folks that are in the back of the room. The settlement says they will cancel the debt for those enrolled between October 1st, 2012 and the end of 2016. Letters will be sent to borrowers saying they no longer owe payments to the school. The school is also barred from making false claims about its relationships with companies or employers. The FTC says the $50 million payment will be used to help consumers who were misled by the ads. So shouts out to the education gods who work with the FTC to force these for-profit institutions who have been bamboozling innocent students who just want to better their quality of life. So again, for those in the back of the room, let me reiterate this one more time for the individuals I heard at the restaurant. In order for your debt to be canceled, if you were a student of University of Phoenix, you have to have been enrolled between October 1st, 2012 and the end of 2016. You will get a letter in the mail to borrowers, meaning if you took out the debt, saying you no longer owe payments to the school. So if you did not go to school did not go to University of Phoenix between October 1st, 2012 and the end of 2016, don't expect a letter. You're not going to get one. You don't qualify. Everybody hear me. You do not qualify. So that's free. I just want to throw that out there. That's what that's about. All right. Let me make sure I get all the details out about that, because we're fastly approaching out of time. Y'all know how I get, but I definitely wanted to cover this here. In 2013, just a little more backstory. In 2013, they ran a radio ad. The University of Phoenix said companies including AT&T and Adobe were helping us shape our curriculum to make sure today's classes help prepare you to pursue tomorrow's jobs. Investigators said that was a lie. In the words of Maury, the investigator said that was a lie. Not true. Instead, many of the companies touted as corporate partners were actually part of University of Phoenix's Workforce Solutions program that provided discounted tuition to their employees in exchange for companies helping promote the school. So that was really the basis for those commercials. All right. So we did Russell Simmons. We've done University of Phoenix. So another issue that has come up, and me and Simone vaguely talked about this a week ago, was for those individuals that live in Atlanta, you know that the homeless issue is an issue in Atlanta. And when we speak about homeless, and you will see this soon in the documentary that my company's working on, called Operation Warm Space, where we get into the field with one of my very close friends, one of my very good associates, Erica Wright from You First organization. And we get into the field and we actually look at the homeless, and we actually film what they go through, and we paint their picture and all that good stuff. But we spoke about a story where New York was talking in talks with Marietta to relocate their homeless to Marietta. I didn't. When we broke the story, I couldn't fathom the thought process of another state sending their homeless to a county in Georgia. I couldn't fathom the idea, considering the fact that we have yet to find a viable solution to our overwhelming homeless problem, which primarily culminates in downtown. Now, those of you that live in Atlanta, we all know that downtown is the premier area for Atlanta, and it's oftentimes where a lot of things go down. Now, what we've seen in days of future past, we've seen scenarios where the homeless have been swept off the streets in downtown for major conventions, DragCon, Comic-Con, all these significant contributors to our economy. We've seen the homeless being swept off the streets for optics. We've seen major homeless centers being closed down because real estate tycoons wanted the real estate. You know, we've seen our homeless out under bridges. Case in point, there's the tunnel over by Grady that I've learned that individuals who don't have health insurance, you know, they go through the emergency room. Once, you know, they've been patched up, they're sitting back on the streets, and they end up in a tunnel that's literally across the street from Grady, homeless. But yet we're willing to have conversations with another state to import your homeless to one of our counties when we haven't found a viable solution to take care of our own homeless in our own doggone state. So when the story broke, I was concerned. I was actually thrown back because I could not believe that we were even having that conversation. But here we are. So apparently when the story broke, Marietta leaders, some Marietta leaders were not even made aware that this was even a conversation. And they found out from the newspaper article. Imagine that. One Marietta council member says they want answers about how New York runs its special one-time assistance program, which provides 1 year's rent for eligible clients to relocate within the city, other New York State cities, or other states. That particular program is the subject of a lawsuit filed December 1st by the city of Newark, New Jersey, which is one of the destination cities for New York's homeless. The lawsuit argues the program pressures desperate homeless to accept standardized housing conditions and that slumlords benefit from the city's program that pays for a year's rent with no checks on the living conditions. CNN has reported that New York City has agreed to temporarily suspend the program. Now, in essence, that program, it kind of gives you the ideology of Section 8, but it's not really Section 8. Now, those of you that are familiar with the Section 8 housing program, there are a lot of stipulations when you get a Section 8 voucher. They check the living facility before you move in. They check the living facility when you move out. They do periodically unpronounced visits. In essence, the ideology is they want to make sure that you are not dealing with what they're talking about with this particular program from New York City. Slumlords are real people. What is a slumlord? A slumlord is somebody that owns property that they rent out that they do not fix up or maintain properly to afford the individuals that live in that particular development a suitable quality of life, meaning the appliances work. You have electricity. The roof isn't leaking. The floor isn't falling in. When you provide individuals with vouchers and do not have a team together to make sure that the conditions that they are living in are above the conditions that they are living in the homeless state, what are you really doing except making a slumlord richer? Now, we gripe about it because you hear it all the time. The people that are on Section 8 gripe about, well, why do I have to have, unpronounced visits? Why do you have to check the state of where I'm living? Why do I have to make sure that, I'm in a suitable place at any given time for you to barge in? Well, sweetie, this is why. Because when they don't do checks, you get stuck with slumlords. And slumlords, I can assure you, you may not know your rights, but they know theirs. So when you come to them and say, well, the roof is leaking, you need to fix it. They go, well, statute number XYZ says that since you're not an XYZ, I don't have to do anything. And you're left with egg on your face. So for those individuals who are who are fortunate enough, and yes, I said fortunate enough because I've seen homeless individuals who don't qualify for Section 8, or I think a lot of Section 8 programs have almost run out of money. When you are fortunate enough to be on Section 8 and Section 8 says to you, hey, we're coming to do an unexpected visit, you should be okay with that. Because if they don't, you could end up with a slumlord, and pretty much the conditions that you live in are just as bad as the conditions that you were living in on the streets. Just want to throw that out there. So in essence, that was surrounding this situation. Marietta City Councilwoman Michelle Cooper Kelly said that at the City Council's November 26th work session that she was astonished when she read a recent article in the New York Post that cited city records indicate New York City has sent homeless families to 373 cities around the country, including Marietta, Kennesaw, and Smyrna. According to the Post report, 2 homeless New York residents have been sent to Smyrna, while Marietta and Kennesaw have received 1 each. Other metro cities where New York's homeless were relocated include Atlanta, East Point, Decatur, Stone Mountain, Alpharetta, Loganville, Lilburn, Lawrenceville, and Riverdale. The Post also reported that since the program started in 2017, New York has relocated 5,074 families, or 12,482 people, to other areas within the city, state, or around the country. I don't know what to say. I find it amazing that New York, with all its rats and potholes, was able to create a program, allocate funding to that program to send their homeless to other counties and states with vouchers to get apartments in these other counties and states, yet we can't deal with our own homeless problem in our own cities and in our own counties. I don't know how we got here. I'm beyond disgusted and confused, and apparently so are the council people in Marietta, because they had no idea that this was happening. What says you? Would love for you to chime in on my feed. Definitely send me some inbox messages. I am still floored at this article because, again, you can't fix your own problems, but you're sending other people to other places that have equally the same problem. One more tidbit about the actual program. So in the program, clients must show proof of income and have the future ability to pay their rent based on an amount that does not exceed 50% of their income, according to the city's website. No other details about eligibility, including whether clients have to have family or employment waiting in another city or states, were provided on New York City's website about the program. So again, in a nutshell, let me paint this picture real quick before we go. So in essence, what New York has done, New York has provided their homeless with about 1-year vouchers that all they have to do is show proof of income and have the ability to pay their rent based on an amount that does not exceed 50% of their income, according to the website. Now, look at the bigger picture. How does that matter when I'm not giving you a voucher for the state you currently reside in? So how does that work? Because if you can't prove to me that you have a job waiting in, we'll say Marietta, that you have a job waiting in Marietta, how can I prove that 50% of your income won't be used to pay your rent, when I don't even know if you have a job in the city or the state that I'm sending you to? So how does this program make any sense? That makes no sense at all. But again, this is what we're dealing with, people. So in my quick wrap up, I just want to say 3 points based off the 3 stories that I covered today. First story, Russell Simmons and Oprah. You should be in a place with your friends and your associates where you're able to pick up the phone and warn them if you're involved in something that may tank their good name or provide or give substantial damage to a brand that they've spent years building. Number 2, when it pertains to University of Phoenix and paying back, remember, if you did not go to school between August the 1st of 2012 and the end of 2016, you will not be getting a letter in the mail telling you that your debt has been canceled by University of Phoenix. Number 3, when it comes to the homeless, we all need to be able to take care of our homeless. To all my city council members, all people in government across the board in the United States, we've got to find viable solutions to take care of our own homeless. Trucking them and exporting them to other counties and states is not the answer, because all you do is make a mountain out of a mole, or make a molehill into a mountain, because now you're making a problem bigger in another county or state, because at the end of the day, everybody wants more money to run their governments, and that's clearly what they have done in this particular instance. So I will see you guys next time on the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice. Oh, and on social media, you want to go to ricecommunity.com to find out what's going on. Quickly, my TV show, the Leadership Blend television show, starts production today. Shouts out to my TV team who's looking at me right now. They're getting ready to do our first guest, which is Dr. Latasha Holden. It starts next week on Sunday at 9 o'clock on the channel is Black GDP TV, which you can find on a Roku device or Amazon Fire TV. Also, check out Thinking Out Loud Network, which is where we do the show from. Check out some of their other podcasts as well. Ricardo Ricky Rice is where you'll find me on Facebook. Ricardo D. Rice on LinkedIn. RD Rice on Instagram. I'm tired, people, and I got to go do a TV show. So I will see you guys next week, same time, same place on Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice.
You're listening to the Leadership Blend podcast.
I'm ready.
On the Thinking Out Loud Network. Check out the Thinking Out Loud Network at thinkingoutloudnetwork.com.